Good evening. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025, and this is the monthly meeting of the Australian Shepherd Club of America Board of Directors. In attendance tonight are Jerry Scheit, Vice President, Donna Sims, Second Vice President, Diana Williams, Treasurer, Secretary Tanya Johnson, Directors Jan Weeson, David Clayton, Ann McCabe, Jillian Ward, myself, Susan Byrne, and the Executive Secretary, Kala Jaco. Also in attendance tonight are our newly elected Board of Directors members, Jody McClellan, Chuck Klein, and Sue Kelly. Thank you all for joining us. And at this point, it is time for the Treasurer's Report to be given by Diana Williams. Diana. Diana, you're muted. Diana, did the storms take you out?
My screen got small. I apologize, everyone, but I'm going to say it again. Good evening, everyone. And I will start with our cash available with ASCA. In our Chase checking account, we have $162,745.91. In our wire account, we're maintaining that $100 balance in that account. Our savings account has $82,589.13. Our AEMD funds for Chase has $34,943.63. Our foundation account has $73,450.72. Over in Vanguard, our investment accounts, subsequently last month, we moved $50,000 there. So we have $169,335.11. Overall, since opening these Vanguard accounts, that particular account is up, just for information purposes, $4,335.11. The AEMD funds in that account are $41,048.06, and that one is up. I took note of that, $1,048.06 from making interest. The foundation account there, unfortunately, is back down to $22.81. Chase denied sending the amount of money to Vanguard. It has something to do with the ACH rules in Chase. They're very protective over money, and they have a lot of fraud policies in effect. So it got kicked back, and we had to go into the system. I had to work with a couple different people in the Chase account, turn on the security, turn off the security, allow ACH. Anyway, we've done it again. Susan, Tammy, and myself have re-signed the paperwork to allow transfers to and from the Chase account. So hopefully we'll be able to move some of that foundation money back into that Vanguard account. Our total funds available are $564, 235 cents, and $235.37. That's our cash on hand right now. And by the way, I just missed it, but for the 26 Nationals account, that was funded with $10,000. I sent everyone the P&L earlier today. There are going to be some corrections. The president and I went through several things. I have to pull down some of the different accounts. We have the new bookkeeper, and there are a couple of accounts in our chart of accounts that sound very similar to each other. And I believe it was just errors when she was putting in money for finals entry fees, and those actually should be AEMD fees for the members for the AEMD fund. So I will work on transferring that back where it needs to be and talk with her. Another mistake on the P&L is, and this is not really anyone's error, but I wasn't aware of the split on the membership dues where some of that money had to be split out of the incoming money and put into the Aussie Times subscriptions. So that number of $10 for Aussie Times subscriptions will increase quite a bit. We're going to have to pull all the membership dues for the month of June, and probably I'll need to go back to May as well and figure out that split. And the bookkeeper has agreed to do a one-time journal entry to correct those funds and put them in the proper area. Also on the budget, we are down in Aussie ads. You can see the Aussie ads were down. The total income for the month was 71,492. So that's down, a little bit. Actually, I looked at last year's and it's only down about probably about 4,000 from where we were last year. So it's not grossly down. It's just not where we wanted it to be. I checked, if you look out to the right, you have your percentages of where we are in the budget, and we're halfway through the year. So I did check these percentages if you're interested in looking at those to see where we are. On expenses, we're missing a few expenses. Of course, the Aussie Times is there, so that increased from last year, the expenses there. We don't have a separate Aussie Times postage. And I don't see the bill for that because our previous office manager had put in an extra $2,500 into our postage account. And that's where the Aussie Times is supposed to pull from, but they've been ACHing it from us. So I've got to check on that to see if we might have an extra $2,500 sitting in our postage account that we can actually use and pull back. We also don't have any computer labor for the month of June. It came in July. It came in a little bit late, probably because of the holidays and whatnot. So our expenses are actually lower than they should have been due to that. We also had our annual insurance renewal, so that was $6,172 and some change. Our overall expenses ended up being $63,665.17, leaving us a net profit of $7,826.89. And I
Thank
put
you.
in, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say thank you. What else did you want to add on
No,
that
that's
one?
it. I did check on last year's, let me change my screen real quick. I looked at last year's money just to see where we were tracking with last year's. And last year in June, our net was 19,787, but we didn't have the Aussie Times also last year either. So, and then next month, I'm hoping we'll do a little bit better, but typically July, August, and September, the rest of the year is typically anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 less per month in the first half of the year. I did just a little assessment to see. And I just from putting on shows and sanctioning shows, I know the fall and the winter is generally our slow time, unless people are having litters here and there. So let's help with some increased income for the rest of the year. Let's have some shows. That was
Great.
all.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks, Diana. No, you're good. Does anybody have any questions about the treasurer's report? May I get a motion to accept it as submitted, please?
I make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report.
Anybody want a second?
This is Donna.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Diana. Motion on the floor is to approve the treasurer's report as submitted. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, treasurer's report is approved as submitted. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the 2026 Stockdog Finals for cattle, to revisit the decision from the 2025 spring board meeting to decrease the number of cattle used in rounds 1 and 2 for the 2026 Stockdog Finals from 5 head to 3 head. Jillian, this is your topic.
I have a hard time having split screens. So thank you for indulging me to talk about this. I do think it's taken a turn that I wasn't personally expecting. In reviewing the motion that was made during the spring board meeting, I had asked for some further clarity because, in fairness, I'm being honest, I wasn't physically present and I was on a Zoom call, and I wanted to make sure that I understood the rationale behind it. Um, as I'm looking at the motion, and more information was provided to me when I asked, by the way, some board members weighed in. Obviously, there has been a lot of feedback from the membership. I've talked to a couple of different people in response to some of their comments. And I guess the reason that I wanted to talk about it again is the motion that I'm reading right now is that was made. Let's see if I can read it. It says, to make an exception to the Stock Dog Program Rule 24.9.2, minimum number of livestock per run for the 26 Stock Dog Finals. Due to limited livestock availability, the number of cattle per run will be reduced to 3 head for the first 2 elimination rounds. And for some reason, I've got something right in front of those words. And 5 head for the final round. Um, to be honest with you, I am currently helping to manage a very challenging national, which is soon to be had in Winnemucca, Nevada. And when I say challenging, it's there are huge financial challenges that we are trying to overcome right now. And my concern is whether or not this, a couple of concerns, whether or not this particular motion does, it's very specific to 1 year. And I would like to discuss whether or not ASCA needs to address these potential hardships for all future nationals, not just one individual national. I am not specifically wishing to point out just the stock program, but what sort of safety net does ASCA have in place to be able to make modifications to different programs in finals or at the nationals if we need to do that so that we can still continue to have nationals? Because as things become more challenging, I do not want to see the national on the chopping block or potentially being canceled because we didn't put some safeguards in place. So because of all the chatter on this motion, it caused me to really think about it, coupled with the fact that I'm managing these challenges right now, different types of challenges. Secondly, I have personally made a motion at the spring board meeting in executive session and inadvertently did not realize that I was doing so, and the membership's response to it seemed as though they thought maybe we were doing something behind the scenes or being secretive, when in fact, I just made a motion and I wasn't trying to hide anything. I think this motion may have been similarly handled. And I had requested that we talk about it openly. I am not, I do not do stock as a hobby, so I am not trying to claim to be an expert on this, but it does stand to reason if a motion was made specific to 1 year that it could potentially affect other years. And right now, I've spent personally a little less than 2 years trying to make sure that ASCA is sustainable and saved and safeguarded. And so I would like to my intention was to open up this conversation to find out if you all think that this motion should stand as is, could we open up the ability to talk about something more overarching? And could we potentially include a regular process, which would include getting, the respective committees' input and some membership feedback? And that was the intention of my meeting, or my request to have it on the agenda. Um, I think everyone can see it's taken some different turns. That was never my intention, but that is my request to discuss it. So you all know why I wanted to talk about it now, and I'll turn it over to Susan.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Currently the motion stands. There is no motion presented to rescind. And at this point, I would like to go around the table and let everyone have an opportunity to share their thoughts and views on probably why we accepted this motion and passed it unanimously. The vote was 9 in favor of reducing the stock to 3 heads for the first 2 elimination rounds, and 5 head for the final round. So let's go ahead and Jerry, you're up first. Thank you.
So I am still in favor of this motion. I would say that the primary fiduciary duty of this board of directors is to protect ASCA's assets. And possible reduction of the number of cattle is a direct action to safeguard those funds in a high-risk environment. It is known, and I have done some research, that the number of cattle in the US is the lowest right now that it has been in 75 years. I have looked at National Beef Wire. The US cattle inventory declines by nearly 500,000 head in 2025, and it lists states with the largest gains and declines. Some of this was back in January. And then there's the issue of the screwworm detection in Mexico and the resulting suspension of live cattle imports from Mexico. And that is expected to significantly impact the Colorado cattle market. And it has led to price increases. The uncertainty and risk is a lot. And that isn't just going to be for 1 year. It's going to have a couple of year fluctuation, excuse me, coming down for that. So I really feel that it needs to stand. I did read the comments of other members that have come in that ASCA does need to find a way to fund this. And so I did some research on that. And I think that maybe it's a thing was we do to look forward is maybe we look at the possibility, and I'm going to propose that it can be a 2-pronged approach be implemented, that exhibitors can be responsible to pay for both a stock fee and an entry fee. And then they could go out and find their own sponsors to cover their cost. That approach is used in other organizations to cover event expenses. Even 4-H kids have to actively go out and seek their buyers for their market animals at their market sales. So those are just my thoughts.
Thank you, Jerry. Donna.
Sorry about that. Yes, I also am still in favor of still supporting this. I think I am confused though. So there is not a motion to rescind this motion?
I would love to move to rescind. This is Tanya. I made the motion.
Thank you, Tanya.
Okay. So I am in
Hang-
favor of this. You know, like
Donna,
Jerry said.
Donna,
Yeah, go
let me
ahead.
interrupt you for a
Go
second.
ahead.
With Tanya's, excuse me, motion to rescind, is there anyone that's willing to second that, or it will die for lack of a second?
This is Ann. I'll second it.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, Donna, go ahead. Wait, we have a motion on the floor from Tanya and a second from Ann to rescind the previous motion from the spring meeting to reduce the number of head for finals for the, you guys know what the motion is. All in favor of rescinding the motion? Is there any further discussion before we go there?
I kind of would like to hear what everyone else has to say first, if we can move forward with this
Yeah, but maybe
conversation.
go back to Jerry quickly since we just heard from her and then go through everyone.
We can certainly do that. Jerry, do you want to revisit that with the motion to rescind?
Again, my vote will be no to rescind the motion, to vote to rescind it. I'm in favor for the reasons that I stated previously.
Thank you. Donna?
Okay, so yes, I would not be in favor of rescinding the motion. As Jerry stated, we are responsible for ASCA's finances. And while we are way ahead, like we have gained so much and we've worked very hard and we are definitely headed in the right direction. We like we are not where we need to be. We're nowhere where we need to be, and we need to be very conscientious. Like Jill said, Jill's, the worry of this coming nationals and are we going to be okay? Are we going to have enough income? Nationals is a huge, huge, huge expense for ASCA, and with the way the cattle market is right now, it's those of us who are buying and selling cattle. It's very volatile and it's crazy. It's really crazy. So, having that ability to do that, should we need to, it's just good business. It's just good financial responsibility, I feel, on our part. That's all.
Thank you, Donna. Diana?
Sorry, I'm going to abstain at this time. I'm still listening and learning. It's not my wheelhouse. So, and I understand both sides. I've read every message that has come through the IO group. I understand about the potential availability or lack of availability. I understand about the health conditions coming down the pike, possibly. I guess I need to hear more information about what this particular nationals did to secure cattle so far. It happened pretty quick at the spring meeting, so I don't know if the Stockdog committee was involved or if it was just a nationals committee decision with the information. I just need more information and then I'll be able to give my 2 cents worth.
Okay, great. Thank you. Tanya?
As I stated, I'm in favor of rescinding, and I've presented an option going forward that would cover all of these bases as far as covering that we've looked into health and availability and all these things, and just being able to back up our decisions with metrics rather than speculation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan?
I am here. We have to think about all of ASCA. That's every program and across the board. I am nervous about the participation locally and nationally, seeing the decline. I think we need to look at things very hard, and that was part of the issues. We're beginning to have people actually even talk to us about livestock. They don't want to make a commitment that far out. It would be nice to be contracted, but we are not. The number of head being housed is always an issue there for if there's anybody coming in and observing how things are happening, less head is going to be useful. The market is crazy. I can tell you personally on our dairy farm, what we're receiving for day-old calves is something I've never seen in my lifetime. We normally give them away. And it's raising every day to a higher number, and they are picking them up every day because they are looking for animals to go into the market. Our issues in Colorado is the availability of any size cattle and wanting to make a commitment that far out. And it's during their time of sale and how everything's volatile with the droughts and everything that's going on. I'm a stock person. I've always felt that we had to think about the whole program and the cost of having this number of livestock and feeding them, taking care of them is a challenge. Last year it was lovely. They had a big open area. The facility had an area that they could relax, and having that was a close related place. But that was then. This is now. The market has definitely changed. Some of the comments that have been in the notes have been different organizations that they have 5 head of cattle. Well, all of them, the only time I see 5 head of cattle is in the final go around. In all the preliminaries, there's only 3 head of cattle, whether it's MSSA or it's National Cattlemen's, or even if it's one of the auction venues that puts on an event along with it. They're all starting with 3 head, and then they showcase in 5 head. In all the years I've been in livestock, it's always been told it's always easier to have more head than it is to have less. So some of that argument is very challenging in this. Finals is the responsibility of the ASCA board. We, in the end, that's coming from the dollars that our members are giving to it. We're seeing the financial. I would be even in support of doing this in 2025 to help offset if the contract with the cattle person allowed it, because the amount that you would save, I'm sure, would be considered. This really decreases the numbers that you have to have on hand by 30. And that's a significant number when you're carrying and taking care of that livestock. We were paying around $1,000 if there's a loss of life of an animal. Now they're talking $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 if something was to happen. And I've been at nationals where things have happened, and it was no cause of an exhibitor. It was, who knows why it happened and who took the responsibility for that. But that is our responsibility as well. So with all of this, I am in favor of continuing with the motion as it stands, not rescinding it. And I would even consider for 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. David?
Yes. With everything that's going on, I do understand and have read the various rationale for moving back to 5. But with the cost of cattle, and with our own financial responsibilities, and certainly with the challenges that have occurred with this nationals, we really can't afford it. And, ASCA almost went broke just a few years ago, and we are recovering. So we are not really in a position that we can afford to do this. Now, perhaps in the future, there will be a way to fund this through our membership and they can pay for the additional cattle that are needed. But at this point in time, we have a financial responsibility to ASCA. And that includes making sure that, we lose the minimum amount of money that we can with this nationals and moving forward. And with the cattle prices as they are, I'm not in favor of rescinding this motion.
Thank you, David. And
My rationale for supporting rescinding the motion, or the fact that I seconded it, is twofold. One, I feel that we were actually not given complete information at the spring board meeting to uh, intelligently make a decision, and I feel that the reasons now to defend the decision have come up afterwards as like a postscript, like to explain the decision as an afterthought. And so that doesn't sit right with me. And additionally, as the board does a lot, and we are working, and we even like made it a motion, is not consulting with the program committee. And so I think that the idea that Tanya has brought forward to have this, discuss it with the Stockdog committee and have rules in place. And I absolutely believe we should do it for agility in terms of, I don't know, number of judges, or obedience and rally. That I think that this should be a directive from the board, that each, just as we did a few years ago with emergency judges stuff, that they need to come up with what's going to happen if costs need to be cut, if there is not enough in the budget. It's their program. And so I think that we're still talking a year and a half away. And we had the same thing in Bakersfield when there was the huge avian flu in California, and they were not allowing any events. The California state government did not allow any events with any fowl, and we were worried about Bakersfield, but it was fine. And we had ducks, and it passed, and the disease passed, and everything was fine. So I feel we were being rash in the decision. I feel that each committee, starting with Tanya's suggestion as kind of like a launching point, to come up with steps, things that must be done if there are to be any changes to finals or nationals or anything. Now, yes, ultimately the board, we are responsible, but the board is also responsible for listening to all the committees. That's why we have them. So I feel that we rescind it now. We're still over a year away, and that we can get the committees to do this. And there also is, it's even in the rules now that people can donate to specific programs, and the NAC brought something forth, and they just had to rework it a little bit, and hopefully that is still coming forward in terms of donations. And if people are willing to pay for it to get it done, then there is absolutely no way that the board can say, no, we don't want your money. That that's just ridiculous. So that is my feeling on the topic. We need to do it right. Thanks.
thank you, Anne. Jillian.
I don't know. I can go either way. I think the motion is very targeted for 1 year, and that concerns me. Um, so if, the majority doesn't want to rescind it and we move forward, okay, great, we're addressing 1 year. We're also discounting the membership's request to have feedback. And while I know that the membership has, at large sent a bunch of feedback, it was sort of in a kind of an kind of handled kind of in an unhealthy manner, I guess is the best way. I think we would do ourselves a huge service by listening to our membership and remembering what makes them mad and what frustrates them. And I don't see any harm in either rewriting this motion or rescinding it and writing something more broad that addresses more than one national, and to allow the membership to have a voice and to show good faith by going through the proper procedures. Um, I have had a lot of very large meetings lately, which involved a bunch of ASCA members on varying different topics. And every one of those meetings ended up so positive because people had the ability to share and to listen and to talk, right? And to be considered, their thoughts considered. And while I understand, hey, I just gave you guys, a 45-minute dissertation on where we're at with the 2025 national. I fully agree that we have a fiduciary responsibility. However, not at the expense of not being willing to listen to feedback and asking for feedback. So, whether it's rescinded and rewritten, and we give ourselves go through the proper channels and get the proper feedback, and let's think about this from a more global perspective. Um, if it's rescinded and a new motion comes forward that is going to accomplish the same thing but more, I don't really care what vehicle we use. You can amend this one or you can rescind it and write another one together. But I'm sorry, at the risk of sounding rude, I think now is not the time to be stubborn, because we are struggling. ASCA is struggling. Our programs are struggling. Our affiliates are struggling. And the last thing we need to do as a board is to say to the membership, you know what? We're just doing this because we know better. It hurts no one to stop and revisit this. It hurts no one. We have nothing but something to gain. I don't think anybody on this meeting thinks that trying to protect ASCA's financial future is a bad thing. Nothing that has been shared tonight is wrong, but I think we're being very short-sighted if we don't take into account the membership. And frankly, the notion of the vocal majority being the ones that are complaining, let me just tell you, I've had a lot of people reach out to me that are not, they never, ever, ever, I've never seen them comment. So it's not just the vocal majority. There's a lot of people that are frustrated that we aren't allowing them to be part of the decision or at least be heard. So at the moment, I don't know if this board is open-minded enough to work together and to collaborate with the membership and the committees to come up with something that will safeguard ASCA and its programs from these potential problems and unforeseen circumstances, then I think it would go a long way. And I don't really care what vehicle it is, but it kind of seems to me that there's a faction within the board that says, no, we're just going to stick with this one isolated thing, and that's the way we're going to do it. And that's fine, because you're the body that's trying to protect the 26th thing, and maybe I would feel the same if I was on the 26 team. I'm on the 25 team right now, but we also need to think about 27 and 28 and 29. So I would just suggest that we can still achieve the same result if we choose to be open-minded and try to work together with the membership.
Thank you. So now I'm going to call on our newly elected board members. Chuck, do you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the history with this particular topic. I did read through uh, a lot of the comments that were sent in by the membership. It sounds to me like we really need to listen to the membership and hear what they have to say before we make a decision on this. And I think we should be open and listen to people's ideas, and maybe, you know, the board is not all knowing, and people have great ideas, and I think we should listen to those ideas. You know, on the other hand, we are responsible for maintaining the fiscal, uh, you know, we're fiscally responsible for maintaining ASCA, and I think we need to take that into consideration too. So there are a lot of different things that we need to consider as we move forward, and I think it's important that we weigh all the different options that we have out there.
Thank you. Jody?
I'm the same with Chuck. I've read through as much as I could. I don't necessarily have all of the background. I'm a little concerned that the motion is absolute, that we are in fact moving to 3, instead of stating it in such a way that if we are unable to obtain, then we would move to 3. I think I read that correctly. So I guess from my point of view, I'd like a little more open-ended in case we are able to secure enough cattle for 5 head each run. And also consider, you know, the contributions if members are willing to do it. So a lot to consider. I agree. We do have to think about the fiscal responsibility, but I hesitate with the decision this far out in being so absolute. Thanks.
Thank you so much. There's just a couple things that I would like to address. There was a claim made that this may have been more or less a knee-jerk reaction, and that we're now substantiating the reasons for making our decision. The rates that we were given were between $35 and $50 a head. This was in April. No, actually, it's in March. Since this time, reading what has been published on cattle market reviews and the U.S. government, for 2025, we will import 1 million fewer head of cattle from Mexico. That is, and that coupled with the fact that we have fewer cattle in the states than we've had in the last 73 years, is going to continue to have an impact on the availability. If any of you have looked at market trends or been to an auction of late, it is absolutely mind-boggling the amount of dollars that it would take to buy a 500-pound steer or heifer. They're going for well over $1,800, anywhere from $1,975 to $2,300 a head. Those are under 500 weight steers and heifers. The other thing that was considered and has been maybe not understood by everyone or potentially overlooked, these cattle ranchers contract the sale of their offspring to go at a specified date to market or to the feedlot for them to be fattened up and then sold out of the feedlot. That was definitely taken into consideration. That coupled with the cost of feed, which of course is on the rise. If you're feeding any livestock, you know that. The cost of transportation, granted, fuel costs are down a little bit right now. Don't have any idea what that's going to happen, where that's going to end up. Were a lot of considerations taken into account when this motion was made and was passed. The thought that we jumped into this without a lot of consideration is not accurate. There was much conversation about this. The timing that we think that this doesn't matter, it very much matters. We are in the show year where people will or will not be campaigning dogs to get into finals. So I've heard tonight several mentions of we've got a year and a half. No, we don't. We do not have time. If we have a competitor that wants to campaign a dog, it is only fair that they know now whether they're going to be running 3-head or 5-head if they make it into finals. So those are all things in my opinion, to be considered. So we have a motion on the floor and a second to rescind the motion that was passed at our spring board meeting in March. That motion read, made by Tanya Johnson, seconded by by David Clayton.
And
Got it. To make an exception to the Stockdog program rule 24.9.2 regarding the minimum number of livestock per run for the 2026 Stockdog finals. Due to the limited livestock availability, the number of cattle per run will be reduced to 3-head for the first 2 elimination rounds and 5-head for the final round, which was, made the motion by Tanya Johnson and seconded by David Clayton. We currently have a motion on the floor to rescind that motion. Is there any further discussion?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so everyone had a lot of good things to say. I agree on both sides of this. We have a fiscal responsibility to safeguard ASCA's finances. We also have a responsibility to handle unavoidable situations. And this is almost an unavoidable situation. So instead of having a motion like this that takes care of 1 year at a time, I do agree with Jill if she said it this way. Everybody had so much to say, but I'm pretty sure it was Jill. We need to look at a long-term motion, a motion that we put in place for the Stockdog program and any other program that allows the board to bring forth changes to the finals rules if there is an unavoidable situation that we can't get around. And I realize that this is a year down the road or a year and 2 months down the road, but to your point, Susan, you're right. People are in finals now. I think this motion needs to be cleaned up though and changed to allow for the board to come in and step in and make changes during an unavoidable situation. I wasn't aware of all the discussion before the spring meeting regarding the cost of the head and what it's going to cost to feed. That really wasn't talked about too much at the motion at all. It was almost discussed as it was a matter of fact, and I guess it was because you guys had already discussed it and I just wasn't part of that or aware of that, which is no problem. But I think I would be in favor of rescinding this particular motion and then going through the steps to talk to the program committee, have further conversations, and write a different motion that works for something long-term, not just this one instance. Because if this is going to be a problem this year, it's going to be a problem next year and next year and the next year. So let's put something on the books that will allow us to address these problems yearly as they come up. Sorry, that was all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jan has her hand up, and then we need to call for the vote, and we definitely need to move along. Jan, did you have something you wanted to say?
She's
Yes,
muted.
I do. I just really need to add that we need to be contracting our cattle. We already have the sheep and ducks contracted. We are having more reasonable options when we're looking at lower numbers of livestock that are dog broke even. So I would really hope, I agree that we need a long-term solution for this. But by rescinding this, you could be taking it out for 2-3 months. I don't have 2-3 months to try to make this decision.
No,
My
I
committee
think we should bring
doesn't.
it up. Oh, Jan, I have a dumb question, so don't laugh at me.
No
Um,
dumb questions in my world.
Well, no, I was part of the Bakersfield Nationals, and we had someone raise up the ducks for us. Do we ever sponsor any of the sponsor these cattle to be raised up for us? I mean, have we ever done that in the past where we could sponsor a ranch to raise cattle for us?
I don't know that they've ever done that. The ducks, the last 2 or 3 years, we've actually gotten a local person that wants the ducks, and we buy the ducks, they raise the ducks, we share the feeding of the ducks, so it's much less. And we don't have to get rid of the ducks because they will get them. So it's kind of a benefit to them. I'm giving a very brief kind of scenario, but I'm going to say that right now, I guess that could be a possibility. Always easier if we went to a central location or 1 or 2 or 3 sites. We could be building relationships with specific cattle or sheep ranchers so that we have an ongoing relationship with them.
Well, it sounds
It's
like we need to,
challenging the way we're moving around, right?
yeah, it sounds like we need to think outside the box and come up with more of a, some possibilities for long term.
Okay, thanks, guys. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Otherwise, I will call for the vote. The motion on the floor is to rescind the motion approved at the spring board meeting to remove, to reduce the number of head from 5 to 3 for the first 2 rounds of finals, and then 5 head of cattle for the final round of finals. All those in favor of rescinding and goodness gracious. Jan just said we're up to $1,175 a head for day old calves. Calla, can you do a roll call vote so that it's not jumbled, please, ma'am? Or I'll do a roll call and then speak up. Let's go down the line. Jerry, in favor. This is in favor of rescinding the motion. Jerry.
No.
Donna.
No.
Diana.
Yes.
Tanya.
Yes.
Jan.
No.
David.
No.
Anne.
Yes.
Jillian.
Yep.
And I am a no. So according to my calculations, the motion fails to rescind. That does not mean that we cannot move forward for following years to come up with a difference and how to handle these situations when they arise, if they arise going forward. Thank you guys for that communication and all of the discussion there. Okay, the next item on the agenda, and I know it's getting late, is the junior membership, which Anne has requested just to ask a question, and then we're going to move that over to our email to handle this concern. Anne.
Okay, my question is, does the board support changes to registry rules to, I guess, encourage and involve our junior handlers, our junior members? That's my question. So if the board wants to go forward with looking at these rules, and I have a number of different ideas for things to do, then I will pursue it and I will bring ideas. If you're not, I won't do it. So that is my question.
Okay, all those in favor of looking at a possible change in registry rules concerning juniors and their membership requirements, can I get an aye?
I
I,
Any nays?
I'm an I. I had to think about that, what she said, because at first I didn't understand what she was saying, but I do now. So I.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't really understand what she's trying to.
well, I'm trying to make it short. We had a situation
Do you
with
not support juniors now? Is that the problem?
well,
we do.
we obviously do, but there are some particulars about kennels and breeding and things that are actually kind of working against our juniors. And so juniors who are involved in the breed as juniors, obviously, we want to do as much as possible to have them continue as adults. And right now there are some hindrances to that, and I think we need to fix it.
I think
Perfect.
this
I
last
think you
time,
got your answer. I think you got your answer there because the majority of them were ayes. So I think since we are running up against a time constraint here, is that enough of an information for you to go forward with some ideas to make some changes, Anne?
Absolutely. I have a ton of changes. I just want to know if it was worth my while to discuss it. And so I will do that. It may not be in the next week, but it will be soon.
Perfect. Diana, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
no.
Okay, sorry guys. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the system liaisons report, and that would be Jillian.
Oh, goody, because you haven't heard enough from me tonight. Programmer number 1. Oh, people are texting me, so I don't know how to turn that sound off. Is working on, let's see, the Supreme Championship has been rolled out. She discovered a few issues which are now fixed. She's working on duplicate memberships or portal accounts from people. She finished the affiliate clubs, and that's moved into staging. This will replace the Google Doc. It will be viewable and public on the front page of the website for easy access. Once testing is complete and the Google Doc is replaced, the portal will update automatically. Programmer number 2, who was gone most of June, is now done with the scent detection, and that's into testing. Once testing is complete, it'll be pushed the rest of the way. She has started on dock jumping. She is reviewing a very long list of title progressions, and they will have to do things a little bit different because of the IDS and the UID results. The webmaster, amongst all, you can't even really quantify in a short period of time how much this person does. She is managing the programming and testing right now for the Supreme Championship, the affiliate list, and scent detection. She single-handedly managed all of the finals from start to finish this year, which ran very smoothly. The final counts have been sent to the business office and the nationals team. She is managing the scent detection program temporary employee who to oversee that the data entry corrections are accurate and complete. And she has recently added the national merchandise to the website. And that is a wrap. Thank you for the incredible ASCA IT team.
Great. Thank you so much for that report. I'm so excited with all the positive changes we're seeing in the programming end and the testing as well. Okay, that brings us to item number 10. And if any of the directors would like to put forth a motion to ratify last month's email business, that would be awesome.
this is Jerry. I'll make a motion to ratify the last month's email motions.
Thank you, Jerry. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. This is Donna.
Thank you, Donna. All those in favor of ratifying last month's email business?
I.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you guys so very much. I know it's late and I apologize. We had a lot of information to cover tonight, and I appreciate everyone's attentiveness and participation. Thank you all for listening. If you've not gotten your entries in for Winnemucca, that deadline is rapidly approaching, and thank you for sending those in. I look forward to seeing many of you there. And in the meantime, everybody, please stay safe, love on your puppies, and have a great evening. Thank you so much. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
I make a motion, we adjourn. This is Diana.
Thank you so much, Diana. I'll second. Thanks, David. Somebody do it.
I gotta go
Okay.
walk my doggies.
All in
Bye.
favor?
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
night,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Thank you, everybody.
Jeez, OP.